I got my mat.
We're live right now, right?
Mhm.
Okay, well, let's come over there. Hey, so the first thing I want to do, so I don't make this mistake like I made last week, was I want to introduce our special guest, and we want to thank him right off the bat for taking his time and expressing his knowledge and wisdom of the game. It's a 10-time PGA Tour winner, 6-time Champions Tour winner, David Frost. You can go on and on about that, but we're going to today go on to talking a little bit more about fundamentals, the golf fundamentals. We had a lot of questions last week. Seems like it really took off really well. There's specific questions for David. We'll save those for the end. And David and I discussed earlier this week about the topics that we want to cover this week. There's a little bit of run on from last week. And so the main topic today, and if David wants to elaborate, go anywhere else he wants to go with it, he obviously will do so. And that'd be pretty cool. But the first thing was last week there was a lot of questions about the body coming out of transition, like what they really meant by how the downswing works and so forth, how the body works with the club. And David touched on that. I had my little touch on that as well. We're going to start with that. The second one is learning how to stay. It's more like down the line, in my opinion, but how to stay. Yeah, David was phenomenal at that. Staying in the shot, not bailing out, and winging out of the shot. How to stay in the shot as you're coming through. I think they're two different things. I think you can get your downswing to a certain point, and then you need to learn how to maintain that a little bit longer than you probably think normal. And then the last thing, which is might be my favorite, and David's talked so much about playing aspect of the game, is what it feels like if you start getting your game in order, you're preparing well, and you come down and you're playing it, whether it's a club championship or it's with the boys or whatever, or if it's in the case the highest level possible, which is the PGA Tour. What it feels like when you got 9 holes left and you got to close you're trying to close the deal, and the thought processes and the little games your mom plays on you, and et cetera, and all that. And obviously, I let David touch on all of it. But anyway, we're going to get rolling right now. And David, if you will, I know we talked about starting with the downswing sequence. I think the way to open it up would be to say, what do you see? Because I know you play pro-ams all over the world, and what would you say a common denominator is when you see somebody come into transition and out of transition? What would you say the biggest mistake? Just get your
firstly, hi, nice to see you again. Nice to be with you. I enjoy your enthusiasm about the game. It's kind of nice. Yeah, it's also nice that you played and you can relate to both sides of the game, not just teaching, but teaching and playing, and that's also always helpful. And it's nice when a pupil can trust a player, because he's not just talking about what it looks like from the outside, but actually what it feels like from the inside too.
Yeah.
So, all right. On that note, you were asking me what's the difference between, or what's my feeling of the transition?
Absolutely.
Yeah. So people say, how do you start your downswing? I always feel the downswing is part of the backswing. As you're going back, before you get to the top of your backswing, you've got to start feel like you're going down already. You can't, there's my backswing and there's my downswing. So it's like before you even start that swing, that club is coming back down before you've completed it. And as that happens, the club goes even further. Instead of just stopping and moving, as you're going back, that club has got this like spaghetti effect, So it looks like the club is flailing or is changing direction, but it's because you are making a change direction with the body. Then the club feels like, or looks like it's, like spaghetti. And that's what Hogan looked like,
Yeah, absolutely.
His club never stopped. It was just like a complete flow. Now Trevino, well, as you know, he's always shuffling before he hits the ball. We all want to be in a static place before we take the club away. But Trevino was always, he was always ready. He'd start way open. And then by the time he was almost close, he would take the club back, he'd take it back outside the line. And his body, because his body was moving all the time, it looked like it never stopped. And as a result, the backswing was always part of backswing is always part of the downswing is always part of the takeaway.
Yeah.
So that's how I like to think of it.
I'm sorry. Yeah, I heard Chuck Cook say that one time he watched Hogan. He was a little surprised at his grip was stronger than what he originally thought. You know, like obviously reading the books and but he was. You know, you talked about it last week about, and I think we can go back to that and reference every single time is getting your backhand on the club properly, and not having this flimsy right hand or underneath and crazy stuff. But he was shocked. You know, of course, and you correct me if I'm wrong, but he started with his hands a little. He wasn't straight. It was a little more just a.
Who was that?
And then,
who was that? Who are you talking about?
It wasn't a 1-2.
Which player are you talking about?
I'm sorry, with Hogan.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah, so Hogan, Chuck Cook was saying to me one time, he said, I was really shocked by his grip. I thought was going to be more on top. And he said, I saw it, and it was really like what you talked about. It was more in that base.
Yeah.
I think it goes back to, like you said, it all comes back to that grip. And because when you come through, you do see if it's way in the fingers, people kind of stall with their body. They get up here and make a backswing stall and then come through. And then when you see like you guys and high level players, we're hitting it from the side, but you see this flow.
Yeah.
You don't see this. You don't see a pro go.
So one of the secrets, and it wasn't a secret for Hogan, but he built his clubs with back then you never had a reminder in the back of the club like you have today. There's a little reminder in the grip. So Hogan used to build all his irons with the bottom part of a coat hanger, right in the bottom part of the grip. So the coat hanger would be lined here, and then he'll wrap around it. Then he'll slide the grip on. So the club would fit right where the roots of your fingers, where your fingers join your hand at the roots, they will fit there. And he would hook onto the club that way. So he could start with the hands even or slightly behind, if you want to call it that. But because he's anchored to the club, his club would, once it gets here, it changes direction, goes up. And before it gets to the top, it starts coming down already. And that's why he could get this beautiful position on the inside. And once he got here, he would just turn onto the ball. And I say a lot of it had to do with the way his hand got hooked onto the club. That plus the fact that the shots were pretty stiff and always flat. So he would never hit the ball right to left. The ball would always go left to right. So that helps too. If you can finagle, if you can maneuver your clubs a bit. I mean, his driver, for a fact, a typical driver would be bored this way into the wood. He made sure his driver was bored at this angle. So his club face on the driver even was pointed way down. So he would hook himself into the shaft. He'd hook himself in here. He'd take the club back. The club would stand up. The club would get beautifully there. And then he would turn on top of the golf ball.
Everything pivots from there, right? Once you get in that area, you just pivot.
Yeah, as I say, from here, you just get on top of the golf ball. So you're on top of the ball on the right side. You're not on top of you haven't gone to the left. Now you got to back up and make room for the club to then exit left somehow. But it doesn't. You just hang on to the right and hold on to it there rather than release to the finish.
Yeah,
I think it's a body release. Okay, it's a body release. It's not a hand release. Oh, good thing. Right?
All right. Yeah, we're good now.
I'll be right there.
Good. So, like you were saying, when you play the level you guys play at, you don't want a lot of this. You don't, like we talked about last week.
I don't werken.
You don't want a lot of this toe roll like that through the ball. Just a lot of but, getting that body and you want this club as it's coming through. Actually, you don't want a lot of. I don't like a lot. I don't think anybody does want a lot of bending or cocking and all this at that point. You want to keep it all steady, and then that club will break loose. Kind of like you said, even with the left.
Correct.
When we're making these swings, I know it sometimes will freeze, but we're good.
Yeah. All right, I'm back. I had a slight little delay there. But yeah, I heard you're all spot on there, man.
Yeah, that's a cool story about Hogan. I didn't know he put the something like a rib underneath the bottom and of the grip, and I had no idea.
Yeah, there was Hogan's club maker was a guy by the name of Gene Sheely. Now there was a trick to that. How did you get that rib on exactly the same place every time? Because sometimes, you know, how do you feel it from the, because you can only really see it from the top. You can't see it from the bottom.
Right.
Correct?
That's right.
So they would build something like a swing weight machine. You know, a swing weight machine, your club hangs upside down.
Right.
So they would have it in a swing weight machine, but he built a wooden gadget that looked like a swing weight machine, and there was a nail coming out here.
Oh wow!
That would let the club face lie on the nail, so it would never go past the nail. That's how they would know where the sort of 6 o'clock on the grip would be. So Hogan would always put his reminder kind of at 7 o'clock, which was a sort of a weak position and not a strong position. You didn't know that, eh?
Yeah, I can assure you I did not know that one. That's pretty cool.
Yeah, I went in the back of the workshop there where everything was pretty much a secret. And Gene Sheely was his club maker. There are a few guys that know this. Mark Brooks knows it. And then there's a gentleman by the name of Ronnie McGraw. Ronnie McGraw used to be our Hogan rep out there. And
wow.
Ronnie would always take me in the back.
Speaking of going into the staying in the shop, Mark Brooks is pretty good about that. He can play. Great player.
Yeah. I'm known as a tinkerer, but Mark is known as more of a tinkerer than me.
So that, you know, the one last thing maybe to cover would be, you know, I think for the better player too, as we go in, a lot of really good players. I see. I get your thoughts on this with junior golfers. And I always call you got high school fundamentals. Like I can relate with myself with this, and then of course with the students I teach, all the high school kids, their legs and core and strong enough yet. They haven't really developed yet, and you know they have those hyper hips. You know they jump their hips and hold the club back and all this stuff. They hit it a long way, but you're hitting a lot of different directions, and eventually you're going to blow your back out, in my opinion on that. And then you got college fundamentals. You have a little bit less of that. You know, you have some of it, and then you got tour that's more grounded and really playing surface line. And their ball flight ends up from a hook to a draw to a straight or a cut. Seems like, you know, as it goes up levels. But this is a move for the better players I see a lot of where they tilt a little too much here. They get the hips back, club drops, you know, underneath the plane line here, as you know, and too much role to play at the highest level. You have any keeping the, you know, the club, you know, it's got to be in front, can't be tipped over, but, you know, keeping it in front of your body. Here's a picture of you. I use it. I'm going to put it on this, stick it on. You're in a position where when you come in, it just looks like there's no way you can really miss. And everything's connected. Your upper body's caught up with your lower body. Your hands are halfway down, you know, to your chest line here, and everything's, you know, deep into the ground.
Yeah.
And there, you're just gonna, like you said, pivot, and you're gonna be good to go.
So, you know, just to talk about the kids, you know, they're all in that jumpy position.
Yeah.
You know, when you're younger, you don't have this power in your legs like you develop when you get older. So I think the kids try and use a lot of their power in their upper body, all right, rather than in the drive. And that's just unfortunate that they're not strong enough yet when they're too young, and then they develop that, and they just carry that with them, you know, for I'd say 16, 17, 18. And then after that, they start developing the foundation in their legs, which is natural. And also, they're not strong enough in their hands yet. And that comes with time as well, the hands and fingers, you know, yeah, hands, fingers, and forearms. So they have to use the body to do that kind of work. And, but, you know, it's just something you can't avoid at a really young age. And what's the point in being a superstar when you're 15 years old?
Yeah.
You know, you want to make sure that you have longevity in the game. So as long as you're having fun, well, same thing. I was trying to say something there. As long as you're enjoying the game and you're competing, all right, just compete. Learn to chip and putt, you know, while you're not striking it perfectly yet, since you're not a perfect golfer at the age of 15 yet. I would say learn to chip and putt a lot. Don't try and be perfect at the age of 15, 16. You know, as I say, there's no point, because you want to play the game. You really want to peak when? Between 25 and 35. That's when you want to peak. So you don't want to peak at 18, 19, 20. If you do happen to show good form, again, just, you know, play the game. Everybody's trying to be so perfect at 16, 17, because they're trying to get a good scholarship at this prestigious university, and the university is the #1 team. Unfortunate, because it drives a lot of the kids too much too soon. I almost say you're better off playing Division II, enjoying your golf, and make it a career, and, you know, make it a marathon and not a race. So that's what I would say.
Great advice. There's no doubt about that, because, you know, I see a lot of, it's interesting. I never really thought as much about the fingers, probably why they have such good touch as well. But their forearms aren't, as you can see, they don't support the club in transition as well. Like again, you know, you see a little more buggy whip, you know, versus keeping their distance and staying silky, keeping the whip. It's like you said, making it flow, but not collapsing either, not getting jammed.
Another thing that's really, I noticed it a lot in all juniors. They're not able to relax their arms before they take the club away. All right, because they're not strong enough in their arm. So they all have a very straight left arm. All right, which the straight left arm gets that club there. All right, and once the club is here on the way down, they have to jump to get to the ball.
That's a great point.
So if a lot of them can just relax the arms, all right, relax the arms, and this way start the swing, all right, rather than start the swing with very stiff arms. Again, that's what takes you in that position. Now your body is in the way. So on the way down, your body has to jump to make room for your arms and the club. So again, if you can feel the hands and feel the forearms, you know, and from there, let the club swing, let your shoulders swing, which then takes the club away. When you're so stiff with your arms, now your arms have to take it away.
Yeah, that was one of the things I noticed watching some of the swings that I found with you. And yeah, I'd like to see some of your other footage. You know, I just find the rare footage, you know, is what's out there and available. But one of the things I noticed with your right arm, especially your left arm, you can tell it's just nice and soft and it's good. But your right arm, man, it just, when you set up, it was never ever like this. I mean,
no.
Before you hit the shot, you could see that right arm was just really soft. But you weren't doing it, obviously, none of that stuff. But
yeah, the right arm just works like a piston, you know. It just takes it back, it folds it, supports the club, and then back down onto the ball again.
Yeah, there was a question, but we'll come back to that part because there was several questions about the right wrist and so forth, and then I'd love to come back to that a little bit. But the second thing, if you're all right with it, Dave, we'll go on, and unless you got anything else to say, but the staying in the shot, you know, that's what I call it. I mean, there's probably you call it whatever you want, staying in the pot or whatever. But you know, coming through the ball, again, this is the one I see, and it could be you know that thing. You could be coming out of posture as you're I've seen people that come into transition, they're out of posture before they've even moved, before they've even really got halfway down. But better players, they'll stay in posture here, and then some of them will maybe fear or confidence. Maybe it's just they don't do it right. But you start seeing them bail up and out, and that this grip will get up high, and then you kind of either end up with a drag or a roll. I see that a lot.
Yeah, sure. Sure.
You see it, they shot there, still here, the club going the other way, out this way. Could you
so a lot of that comes from on the takeaway. You tend to keep the weight to the left because this left arm is so straight. You tend to give it weight to your left. Now you've shifted. All right. So once you've shifted now it's stuck. So you got to come up to make room for the club to swing. So look a lot at where the body turns. It mustn't turn left of the club. It turns. And so I picked up something about, maybe I didn't know I was doing this, but I picked it up of late, working with a friend of mine from South Africa, to feel like as you take the club away, feel like you're bending a little bit. It's a left side bend and then a right side bend. Instead of not bending the upper body, just feel like the left side bends, which gets you into a turning position. And then once you've turned the left down, then you just turn the right down.
Yep.
So you're staying left and you're staying right. You're going to the left, and then you're staying to the left just a little longer by feeling the right side. Just bending a little bit here, getting the club in position to hit, rather than swinging your arms, moving your body, moving the legs, left, right bend.
And to touch on that, I think it goes back. I know it's funny, but it goes back to that grip, and especially if you understand how to use. First thing you got to do is have it there in that baseline with that back end, because you're hitting, like you said on that last podcast about we play golf from the side. We don't play. You don't play.
Yeah. You're standing to the side of the ball.
This way, and the racket sports that have a bigger handle, so it's easier. But if you have that club, again in the fingers, and you, like you said, if you tilt this way, you're dead, because you're going to end up bailing out. And then if you have it in the fingers, you cast the club, your body's just going to stall. Like you said, the head beats the handle, or the head beats the shaft of the ball.
Yeah.
If you have that club, like you're talking about, from behind and from the side and on here, then as you turn in, you can keep your posture, I think.
Yeah. So just to point that out, once you make your backswing, all right, and you make that downswing part of your backswing, right, you want to feel like the wrist just collapse a little bit.
Yeah.
You want to feel it because you're moving to the left, right?
Yeah.
Whether you're not going left, but you're going left that way.
Yeah.
You're going left that way.
Yeah.
You're going left that way. See?
Yep.
You're going left this way, you see? You're not going left sideways. You're going left in sync like that. You're going left in sync like that. So just feel like your hands follow that softness of the movement of the body. Don't try and hold on to the club, meaning don't try and hold and just jam the club into the ground. Feel like that club is soft in your hands, which allows that kind of thing down rather than this kind of thing down.
You have a cool move in your swing that you get. I had one of my mentors one time say, "Hey, don't teach that," but I was explaining it to him, and he was a very, very knowledgeable guy, but he didn't want to talk about it because it scares people. But I was watching all these great players, and I was like, "Hey," I was brought it up to, and I said, "You see how they bring their hands will come out? They don't bring the club head out. They bring their hands out in front of them, and then they keep the head back, and then they never get jammed. Like you don't see them pull their hands way down here like this and get stuck behind their body." Like this, they'll bring. If you have that move, I was watching your downswing and in transition. They just but the club sitting here perfect where you can just hammer the ball.
Yeah, but a good way to practice that, and I don't know if he did it intentionally at the time, But Darren Clark, during the time that he won the Open at St. George's,
Yeah.
about this far in front of his ball, okay, this far in front of his ball, he had a piece of string that was strung this way. So the string would be this high, and all he would do was hit punch shots under that string. So he would stand here and just hit a punch shot.
Wow.
So what you're doing is you're keeping club face close, much squarer to the shot all the time by hitting the punch shot. See that?
Oh, I love it. Yeah, that makes sense.
So you get here and you're hitting that punch shot. So the club is very square. Before impact, at impact, and slightly after impact. You just hit that punch shot. You just learn to hit that punch shot. You'll be surprised how far the ball goes with a punch shot versus a full shot.
Yep.
Well,
Yeah.
not versus a full shot, but like a full shot.
You know, the ball seems to get stuck on the face better, and you know, obviously trajectory. You know, like you see, and I see. I know with pro-ams when you play, or anybody, whatever that's a little higher handicap. You know, I see that maybe the ball gets, you know, as they hit, the ball runs over the back of the face, so it's spinny, and then it's vertical launch. Doesn't really get stuck on the face like a pro. You know, like you guys. You know, where you're getting that ball stuck in there, and you know, you're truly trapping the ball. You know, it's like the old sayings and so forth.
I think one of the worst fundamentals in golf is that the golf ball should be with a pitching wedge, middle to the back of your stance.
Yeah.
And as you then gradually move forward, the ball moves up.
Yeah.
The ball should always be to your left of center or left of center. All right. Because what that does, it makes you move after the ball with that club face open, not open, but square. The minute that ball is far back, like we were all taught, all the books were written that way. And I don't know if that's because of the shaft and the clubs those guys used back then. You know, maybe the hickory would allow you to move the ball back, but nowadays you don't want to play with too soft the shaft. You want to keep the shaft being, you know, as stable as possible through the hit. And the best thing you can do is to play all the shots from, and it's just the width of your stance that changes. All right. You keep everything up there. It's just the right foot that moves. All right. And you want to feel everything should be a punch shot. All right. What's Tiger's best shot? All right. Is that 3-wood stinger. Okay.
Right.
Because that way his body and his arms and his arm just get to there. All right. The minute you put the ball on a driver, now you're trying to hit it 180 feet up in the air and 300 yards down the fairway, then your body and your arms don't work together. When he hits that stinger, it's just like right there. Beautiful. You know, and Tiger's so strong, why don't you just hit all his shots like that?
Yeah, no kidding. You know, I can't wait because I'm saving this clip, this small section where you talk about ball position, because it's a debate I get into a lot, especially better players. I always like the ball forward, because I think when I see somebody really I think it's got talent, but they're not playing there yet. And I see them and they're playing their wedge way back here. I'm like, why would you want to? You're wanting to create too steep. The club is actually working too in to out for a better player, but they're going to, you know, it's going to be too in to out. You're going to get stuck, and you're teaching yourself how to cast the, you know, stick the energy way too early, in my opinion. And Kite showed me a drill one time. I had to ask him because he didn't bring it up. He would just hit balls and he would play. I don't know if you see the ball, but he would take out a sand wedge and he'd start outside just his left foot here. And he would put his club up to it because he would set up normal. He would take it back and then he would have to go get it. See, and then he had
chase after it.
You're gonna flip it and top it. So it teaches you how to go get to the ball, and you have to forward shaft like that.
So even with a 58 degree, I like to keep my weight to the left, shaft a little ahead. That shaft never opens up on the backswing like we spoke about the other day.
Yes.
So if you keep the ball up front, you keep your ball position there. You want to chicken wing that left arm, and then turn after the ball. So it looks like this. So as you say, you got to chase after it.
Yeah, that's right. And that's why I love that now. And when he would come back to that his normal shot, his normal ball position, like you said, he played his wedge up forward. Everything was pretty much left side of the face with the irons, maybe off the armpit with the driver. But he didn't play it back to hit the ball solid.
Yeah.
I
got a problem. I got a problem here.
I'm like you.
My batteries.
I'm really glad you mentioned that because, you know, it's a like you said, so many golf books are out there and a lot of information about play the ball back, even chipping. Like you said, I don't want to play it way back here. I mean, I like to chip it with it up front a little bit, my way up here, and then.
You know, there are sometimes exceptions when when the flag's like 60 feet on the green and you got a 7-iron. You know, you can take the 7-iron and move it back. You know, and there's ways you can fiddle around with it. But generally speaking, when you're playing with bounce, like with a pitching wedge 9-iron, 53, 58, you want to feel like you're using the bounce. So by moving the ball up in your stance, not using the bounce. You're getting rid of that bounce by putting the ball up. The minute you move it back, that's when the club digs and your body, because your body is going to be moving forward. All right. And now you have to, with a chip shot, you don't have as much recovery time as you have a head shot. You know, the head shot, you can still back up and let the club match where the ball is. But with a pitch shot, you want to have a short backswing and accelerate, you know, and you're going to hit the golf ball right in the sweet spot every time.
Yeah, that's great advice. Well, and you know, I know I brought up Tom Pernice the other day, but you're equal to that level from all the things I've heard on the tour from the guys. As far as, you know, there's certain guys that can really chip and pitch the ball around the greens, and there's guys that are not as good, I should say. And you're one of those that very well respected about, because, like you said, also what's deadly about you is you know what you're doing, and you can do, and you know what you're doing, and you do it. You do it exactly like you're talking. You don't.
You know, you just got to fake it, you know, just fake that, you know, you're doing it and believe in it. You know, just be confident.
Yeah. I tell you another guy, I'm sure you played a lot of golf with him over the years, but I was able to watch him play a couple of events, and I was really impressed at how many chip and run shots that he hit where I might not have saw it. It was really good, and that was Colin Montgomery. Just, you know, it's that old British golf.
Oh yeah.
He has.
Well, he grew up playing golf in Scotland. You only play pitch and runs there.
Yeah.
But he can play both ways. So, you know, he can hit the lob shots, and he can hit the bump and runs.
Yeah.
But you know, the bump and runs it's so hard in America, the bump and runs, because you can't trust that first bounce.
Yeah.
You know, all the golf courses are watered so much, the greens are watered, and you just can't trust that. Let's land it 5 yards short of the green and it'll bounce on. Whereas you go to Scotland, you can land it 20 yards short of the green, it'll get to the green. So we can't play that kind of golf in America, and that's very unfortunate. But you know, you go to like places like Bandon Dunes where it's very sandy, and they can have those kind of you can play that kind of golf, you know. You can trust the bounce, you know, and a lot of times when we play a golf course, I will go and hit chip shots around the green where it does allow me to allow the ball to bounce. I will intentionally hit a lot of practice shots just to bring me that feeling back again. Bounce it 3 yards short, and just trust the fact that it's gonna bounce, it's gonna move. And it just takes a bit of time for you to understand that. I took my son when he was about 12, 13 years old. We went to Long Island, and this one par 5 flag was on the back, and he tried to take a sandwich. It was just off the green and lob it back there. And I said, just take the 7-iron and run it up there. So he takes a 7-iron and he hits it way over the green. And he goes, Dad, you see, it's the wrong club. I said, no, take another ball, hit it softer. And eventually we were there for like 20 minutes until he developed that feel, what it took to hit it soft, and trust how the ball's going to come off the club face, and trust once it lands, it's going to roll that far. So you have to try these shots all the time. And in practice rounds, I do it.
Yeah, that's really cool. That's great I think there's a lot of information there as players listen to that and review it that it's going to help quite a bit. I just can't tell you how.
So you asked me a question earlier about the back nine coming into the lead.
Yeah.
So, obviously, if you're leading the tournament or you're in the last group or last two of the last or second last group, shall I say, you must have played that back nine well every time that week. Okay. More than likely. So your confidence level should be high. So you should keep thinking about the shot you hit, the good shot you hit the day before. All right. And if you didn't hit a good shot in that hole, just fake it. Just think about the good one you did hit 3 days before, 2 days before in the Pro-Am, and just put that in your mind. There's a saying that goes, the subconscious mind doesn't know the difference between fantasy and reality. The subconscious mind doesn't know the difference between fantasy and reality. So, you telling the subconscious mind something, it'll believe it.
Yeah, that's
so.
Cool.
You just stand back there and you just watch this ball go down the fairway. Imagine it going down the fairway when you're standing behind the ball, and just let your mind relax. But anyway, that's a different subject. But my point I'm trying to make is, if you're in the lead, you did play that back nine well the day before or 2 days before. So just rely on the trust that you have and see the good shots, and just believe in it, because what else is there to do? You're on top of your game. Why second guess yourself now all of a sudden just because you're in the lead?
Yeah, I think that's great information, obviously. The other thing that I think people have issues with, I think we all have at some point, you start putting the cart before the horse. You get out there on the back nine, and the mistakes that I think we all have made before in the past at different levels is that you get out there and you start thinking maybe 5 holes in to the back, I'm gonna win this, and you start, you get all these outside, or it's really inside, but it's just flowing like all these crazy thoughts you hadn't thought about all week. And I know you worked a lot with Bob Rotella. From what you told me, it sounds like y'all had a really long, probably still do, kind of somewhat of a partnership. It's like another coach. Yeah. And I know what he told me how important he was when you had missed the 7 cuts and then you went to New Orleans and then beat Norman like bam, just out of nowhere, just got it. And but there was a lot more to it. You have a long, very long, successful career, but I'm sure you have a lot of tips you could give players what you experienced, and then of course probably hearing some of the cool things Bob had to say, Dr. Rotella.
Well, it's as simple as I explained it. The fact that you're playing well, you got to teach yourself to relax. You can't when you got 5 holes left say, "Oh, I'm in the lead." Now I've got to change my game plan. That reminds me when I won my first tournament on the Champions Tour. I on the last day I was paired with Mark Yarkovecchia, and I started out birdie, eagle, par, birdie, and I was 9 under through 11 holes, and I had like a 8-shot lead at the time. So most people would have thought, oh, geez, I'm in a position to win now. I better not mess it up. So then I changed my game plan within myself. I said, all right, I got 7 holes left. I'm going to hit every fairway and every green going in. Wow. Because I couldn't lose from there.
Yeah.
But it's good to just play these games with yourself. So I didn't go, oh, gee, I better not make a bogey or, think anything negative. I just came up with a different little game plan. So hit this fairway, hit this green. No matter where the flag is, just hit the green. And I wasn't gonna falter. I wasn't gonna play that bad and him play that well on the last 7 holes for him to beat me all of a sudden.
Yeah.
Anyway, that was just another game I played with him myself. And I think, you know, you should play games like that with yourself. You never know what the situation is going to turn into. All right. You might be one behind. You might be three ahead. And when you're three ahead, I like to go four ahead. I don't like, oh, I think I got a 3-shot cushion. I like to go four ahead. Now, in that case, I was way ahead. So I didn't want to go far further, even more ahead. I didn't think that was a good, even if I look back now, that wouldn't have been a good plan. But if you got 7 holes left and you're 3 ahead, yeah, it's okay. But I'd like to be 4 in that case. So you put a certain kind of pressure on yourself, but not unrealistic pressure.
That's great. I was being told we probably got to wrap it up just because we're running out of little juice out here on the range. So, but yeah, I think we'll answer we got all the topics we wanted, and maybe next session we go into some of the questions. I'll run on to that next week, or this we can do it this week. The fitness part, maybe we can spend some time talking about those.
Yeah, great. Well, it was nice chatting again. You know.
Yeah.
And we'll get together over the next couple of days.
Yeah, that sounds great. If you want to talk to George, we'll make it work on our end. Guests will be here. It'd be great. And as always, man,
okay,
to have you on. And I can't.
All right. Just remember, shopfrostwine.com.
Oh, that yeah, kind of got to get shopfrostwine.com and
shopfrostwine.com. There you go.
It's 30.
We can ship direct.
Okay. They also have a special right now. Can you explain that, David, real quick? Your special before we wrap it.
Well, if you order 12 bottles of wine, you can get it to you for $9 a bottle. We can ship it straight to your house, and there's some really interesting bundles on the website. So just a nice, easy drinking wine. I think it over delivers for the price point. I don't think it'll be sad. Don't think it'll be unhappy with the quality.
Not at all. We'll send that out by email blast, so everybody will have a direct link to that as well. They'll have our promo.
Okay, great.
That'll be going out tomorrow morning. David, as always, can't thank you enough. And I know the golfers out across, whoever's watching this, a lot of them are very thankful.
Okay. My pleasure.
Cool, man. That's a wrap.
Bye.